here with Rylee Ollearis, known as Rylee Jade Fit on social media. Riley's been pretty active her whole life, but considers her first real experience with fitness when she left her high school volleyball team and started discovering all different kinds of ways to work out at a local gym. And from there, she continued her passion and decided to study fitness in college. And now she's a really inspiring fitness coach with over 237,000 followers on TikTok. So, Rylee, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat more with you and talk to the audience as well.
I'm super excited to chat with you. I think that you're so fun and inspiring to see on TikTok. I love watching your videos and hearing what you have to say about getting motivated. So I think
Thank you.
you'll have a lot to share with everybody.
Awesome.
But let's go back to the very beginning. So tell me more about how you got started on this whole journey back in high school.
Mm-hmm. As Kayla said, I quit my volleyball team in high school. When quitting for me is not something that I take lightly. It's not something that, I ever thought was okay. But my high school volleyball environment for me just wasn't healthy. And I was not happy in it. Even though I was playing and I was a decent player, it was just not something that I looked forward to every day. I had a few conversations with the coaches, even my teammates, and decided that it'd be best for me to just leave. And after that, I just felt lost. I've had a coach my whole life, somebody telling me what to do, where to be, when to be there, how many reps of things I should be doing, what types of exercises. And I found myself quickly in a gym doing everything wrong, doing the typical going on a treadmill, trying to do a few squats, doing abs, and then leaving. And I found myself, just uninspired, unmotivated, and not seeing any progress or eventually even gaining weight. Then quickly, I joined a local gym where they had more personal training options, where I worked with coaches who taught me how to do spin classes, yoga, Pilates, strength training, cardio. And I think working with those individuals at that gym taught me so much about fitness and taught me my passion and made me realize that fitness can be so much more than just losing weight, but more about how strong you feel, and you can try different things and find what you enjoy, find what you love. And so that experience and those moments are kind of the experience and moments that I want to share with other people, is that, no matter what your fitness looks like, whatever types of workouts that you're doing, find what you enjoy, find what you love, find the people you want to be around, and just run with it and go with it. And so then came college, I wanted to open up a gym just like that. I was so inspired, and I wanted to be just like Tina and Michael Senna at ProFit. And I started business classes, found that I could not sit down for that long in a class. I did not enjoy dressing up. I didn't enjoy doing all the presentations. And so I changed my major to fitness and wellness, and here I am today.
That's so awesome. And so when you were going through this discovery process at the gyms, I think the first one you went to was like Planet Fitness, right? And you were just sort of moseying about the different machines. So were you trying to achieve a certain goal at all while you were doing this, or were you just trying to stay active because you'd been really active your entire life and had just left volleyball?
A combination of the both. I definitely had, as a high schooler, a little bit of intention. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to look good. My friends are going to the beach later, and I wanted to look good in bikini. And I think almost going in with that mindset held me back more than I had originally even thought. So I went and, I was afraid of lifting weights. I would go and run on the treadmill. I think that was the first time I ever ran 2 miles in a sitting. And I thought that was so cool. I went and tried to beat my time a few times, but I didn't have any direction, and I felt very lost. I would look around the gym while I'd be on the treadmill and seeing people do all of these machines. And, I'd had experience with some barbells through my high school training. It wasn't that I didn't know exactly what to do, but I didn't have anyone guiding me. And so once I had that, epiphany, is that the word?
Yeah.
Having people tell me what to do at this other location, it changed the game for me. And I felt like I found my people and I had coaches once again, which was huge.
And so at ProFit, they were you said you tried everything. They had all these different classes. So was there one thing that you found that you liked more than the other? How did you start structuring sort of what you would go back and do once you found what you really liked?
I tried everything, like you just said. The one thing I was surprised to like so much was yoga. I am a very fast-paced, get it done, constantly moving. Played volleyball. I loved the exercise part of it, but yoga allowed me to slow down, to calm my mind, and it was hard. Yoga was not easy. Stretching, strength training during it, trying to hold poses. So it was a brand new challenge for me. And what I would do is go to ProFit in the evening. I would go to a class at 5, maybe a spin class, and then I'd go to yoga and shut down my brain. So having that combination of the two, being able to do 2 classes in one day, they're only 45 minutes long. It was incredible. So that was one that I was super surprised that I enjoyed. Another one I tried there was boxing. They had an I don't know if it was an MMA fighter or what his credentials were, but he was insane. And he would come in and have us do these boxing courses. And I felt so strong and so powerful. Eventually they had to get rid of the class because the guy left and they didn't have anyone to teach it. But that was another one that I was surprised, and something I would not have tried if I had just stayed in the normal commercial gym. It was a new experience, and it brought me just a new level of excitement.
Mm. Boxing is so hard. Like I tried a class once. It was right before the pandemic, so I didn't get to go back because I went to this studio. I was living in New York at the time. I went in Brooklyn. I went with a couple friends, and I've never been so sore in my life than after leaving that class. We were like, that was basically hell, but it was also so good that we want to go back. And then the pandemic hit, and like I never saw a gym again, but it was amazing.
Your arms, and if you're listening, you probably can't see me, but your arms felt just straight jelloed after. Like it would hurt to lift my shoulder up, and I didn't realize how incredible of a workout that it could be, but also just mentally it made you feel so strong. Like just got out any type of worry that you had for the day, you just left it all in the bag, and that was a cool one.
And
Everyone should try boxing.
yeah, because the conditioning for it too is crazy. Like I went into the class thinking, okay, we'll mostly be doing the arm movements, like the uppercut and all that stuff. And more than half the class was like doing burpees and like push-ups and all of this stuff. He was like, if you don't have total body conditioning, you will not have the stamina to be able to stand and do the boxing part of the boxing, which was really eye-opening to me. I guess it makes total sense because like athletes have to train like that for anything that they want to do.
Right, right.
But that was such an eye-opener where I was like, oh yeah, like you need your entire body to do things that seem singular,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, that was a crazy experience, but highly recommend both of us try
Yeah,
boxing.
try boxing. Um, so that's awesome. So then you found these things that you loved. And so where did you want to go from there? So I know you ended up studying fitness in college,
Mhm.
but were you like, okay, I now want to become a boxer? Or like, what was it that you started to want to make sure that you always got out of your workouts no matter what?
Strength training, 100% strength training. And it's funny because I'm not doing a lot of that right now because my other type of training is so intense. But I do keep up with strength training at least once to twice a week. After learning in college about all of the benefits of it, I was almost shocked that us as humans, us as students, in health courses, that they do not talk about how important it is to have muscle mass on your body, not only just for aesthetics, not just to look like you have, big bulging biceps, misconceptions about women and strength training and all of those things, but the amount that it can help support your body, not just now, but in your later years of having increased bone density, not having an increased metabolism, all of these things helping keep weight loss off. When you keep weight off, then the rest of your body works more efficiently. And I think we had probably an entire test or a few even classes on just strength training alone. And, my best piece of advice for anyone who has not tried a strength training program, start now. It's never too late to gain strength, but it is so, so critical to your well-being, to your physical and mental health too.
Yeah, I've learned more and more. Muscle's where it's at. And that's a
Muscle is where
good,
to go.
yeah, yeah. And that's a good like misconception for women to break down is that like you're not gonna bulk up if you do
Yeah.
it. You can bulk up if you want to, but that actually you have to actively try to do that.
Yes. And I know, so you had this question at the end, but I've been thinking about it. And your question was, what's a misconception about exercise? But while we're on it, is when I first started going to, the Planet Fitness right after high school, quitting volleyball, I really thought that if I lifted too much weight, that I was going to get big, that I was going to, gain all this muscle and look, big and manly. And that's something as a woman that I just did not want to have at the time. I was a little bit more insecure. And I thought, if I lifted too much weight, I'm going to get big. And, I think even some of my family members thought that too. I would hear it in the household, but it was so important for me to then later on learn the importance of strength and learn that I would not get big and bulky. And, I can deadlift over 200 pounds right now and I feel strong, and that's all that matters. And so I'm just so happy with, the knowledge that I had. I think that's another piece of advice is, if you're unsure about something, research it. Find out more. Find out why it is that you want to do it. Find out why you should be doing it. Exercise in general, something I work with my clients on is learn about exercise, and it's going to keep you along the journey much further because you're going to realize all the benefits from it that are not just specific to weight loss.
Mm. Yes, so that's something I wanted to ask you about is you told me this amazing thing that you asked the first thing you asked new clients that you work with, which you just alluded
Mm.
to, which is why they exercise, and getting down to the reason. So why do you ask them that, and why do you think that that's super important to the work that you're going to be doing with them?
Yeah. So many clients, all of their history has been, I work out to lose weight. And I think us as women, especially, in media and on magazines, is you want to have this slim figure. And, there's a lot of misconceptions about what women should look like. And a lot of the roots of why we exercise is simply to burn calories, lose weight, get thin, get slim, get toned. And once we kind of figure that out, talk through this, then we realize why we're actually exercising. Are we exercising to feel more confident? Are we exercising because, we want to feel stronger in our daily life? We want to feel powerful. So kind of reshaping the way that we were learned about exercise takes away some of that pressure. It takes away the negative connotations behind it. Because if you go into the gym every day only focusing on, all right, I'm going to be on the treadmill for exactly 20 minutes because that will be 200 calories and then I can eat a muffin later. And that puts such a negative filters around exercise rather than I'm going to get 20 minutes on this treadmill right now to increase my cardiovascular system so that I feel strong and I can run around and play with my kids and my future grandchildren. And I think that just makes it a little bit more exciting. And maybe that's me. Maybe you need that extra motivation of, I can go eat a muffin. But I think for me, that's just a way that I don't teach exercise.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to approach it. And do you find that as you try to guide your clients along and instill these things in them, like, do you see that their sort of mindset about it ends up changing at some point and they start to see the benefits that they kind of like didn't realize were the benefits after all?
Yes. The biggest change that I see is a client telling me how much weight that he or she lost. And then the change of, Rylee, guess how much weight I lifted today? Or Rylee, guess what I was able to do today? And that change talk right there is when I, as a coach, know that the work that we've been doing on mindset has made a difference. So rather than just focusing on the scale, focusing on the calories, it's what are you able to do? And that is huge. And because then once you get to that, what am I able to do? They want to just keep doing more. They want to improve this. They want to lift more here. They want to be able to run faster, swim better, cycle better, whatever type of exercise they're doing, they get excited about it. And that's where, this whole talk about motivation, how to stay motivated and whatnot comes in, is setting goals and keep pushing those goals, keep pushing those limits. And it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be anything completely drastic. It could be from, curling a 2-pound to a 5-pound, but that is huge. That is
Mm.
massive. And that's something exciting to celebrate.
Yeah, I talk about this a lot, but I recently upgraded my dumbbells from 5 pounds to 8 pounds. And the eight still feel pretty heavy. So like there are
Yes.
certain moves that have started to feel easier, and there are some that I'm like, this is really hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't even have fives in my house anymore. Um, and that's kind of an incredible feeling to think like there was at one point a day when I was doing like 2 pounds
Mhm.
years and years ago. And like, that was all that I would lift. I was like, I can't do more than that. And it really does just give you such a sense of like pride and accomplishment when you see that change and you're like, oh yeah, I used to not be able to do this. Now I can do it. It's
Mhm.
kind of
And I
wild.
think that's such an important thing for people to remember. You know, as a society now, we are always constant go, 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 changing here. What's going on now? What can we have right now? But we have to sometimes take a step back and think about where we came from. You know, going from 2 pounds to 8 pounds is huge. You know, like you have gained strength and you're seeing those changes physically and even probably mentally too at that time because you're feeling more confident and knowing that the work that you're doing is making a difference. So something else I always have my clients do is, you know, write down a little bit of a blurb of why they're doing this, why they're starting. And if they're ever struggling, I have them go back to that and I say, look, this is your verbiage from when we first started together. You said, this is why I'm doing this. Is this still true? Do we need to make adjustments to it? Or have you progressed and we're going to make a new why? And maybe it's just because you want to get better at boxing or do more push-ups or digress from the 8 pound to the 10 pound, whatever it is. But
Hmm.
having those intentions going in and setting specific goals too, because a lot of times people just say, I want to get toned up. And that's okay. That's a great goal. How do we get there? How do we break it down a little bit more and make more achievable goals in this moment?
That is such great advice. It's totally something I've heard other coaches on this show say is like these
Mhm.
micro goals to get to the bigger goal. So, how do you structure something like that for a client if they're like, okay, I want to get toned? Let's say they want to tone like their arms.
Mhm.
Um, what's like an example of a sort of path you would put them on with smaller ways to get there?
Mhm. I like to end almost each of my sessions with three specific goals that they can take into the next week. So we go by week basis, you know, because if you go too big, too fast, and you say, all right, in this whole year, I'm going to do this, a lot of times it doesn't happen. Trust me, I've been there. It's been New Year's that I've made all of these resolutions and none of it gets done. So a week by week basis. And I usually have them set three different types of goals. One of them is maybe a nutrition goal, such as I'm going to drink X amount of water. I'm going to add this much color to my plate. I'm going to focus on hitting my protein goals this week. Nothing about elimination. I find the all or nothing principles do not work well with the type of clients that I personally work with. Another thing would be an exercise goal. This week on, and we make it very specific, this week on Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday, after I brush my teeth, before I eat breakfast, I'm going to walk for 20 minutes on my treadmill downstairs. Making it as specific of that as adding in after I brush my teeth helps make it more of a habit and helps make it more of a cue. Okay, I brushed my teeth. What am I supposed to do next? I'm going to go walk because I want to go walk. And then the next goal, we like to make more of a discipline goal, something that is almost seemingly completely irrelevant to what you're doing. But what I find is a lot of exercise, a lot of health journeys start with discipline. You know, we always talk about motivation. People talk a little bit more now about discipline, but still not as much as motivation. And what little things can you be doing on a day-to-day basis? So something as simple as making your bed in the morning. Make your bed every morning, start the day fresh. That's your discipline task for this week. And, you know, we don't hit it 7 days a week. We try to go for 5 if that's something that they haven't consistently done. But building that discipline in another area and not focusing so much on fitness and wellness, because sometimes when we focus too much on it, it almost becomes more of a chore than something that we want to do.
That is so interesting. You're the first person I've ever heard talk about this discipline concept. So is it essentially like, as you said, to give them balance, but if you're
Mhm.
practicing something habitual that doesn't have to do with health and fitness, it's ultimately going to help you build into creating sustainable habits that are health and fitness? Like, does it
Yes.
like rewire your brain in that sense or something?
I would say yes. It almost just gives you a little bit more confidence to know that you can do what you tell yourself you're going to. That's where I explain to my clients why we're doing this is because you committed to something and you're going to do it. And, it takes the pressure off of it being something about fitness and, it could be anything related. I like to think of discipline as a small muscle. The more and more that you work it, the more and more that you grow it, the more of it that you'll have. So when it comes down to, I want to go work out for 30 minutes, All right, well, I made my bed today. I told myself I would do that and I did that. All right, now I'm going to go work out for 30 minutes. And it's weird how it all plays into each other, but I find that it works. And it works personally for me. It works for my clients. It works for some of my friends. And doing just the small things, a lot of it comes from The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. So if you haven't read that book, I would highly recommend it. But the small changes that we can make on a day-to-day basis lead to huge things.
That is so cool. And do you see this impacting your clients in a positive way, like in a timeline? Like, you know how people say, oh, it takes 30 days to build a habit. Is that kind of in line of how you see them start to stick to things, or do you give them a different timeline? What's your approach there? Or are you sort of like, don't worry about it, you'll get to it when you get to it?
I don't like to set a timeline because it's so different for everyone. And
Right.
I've done some research on the 30 days habits thing, because with my clients, a lot of what we do is more habitual based, building better habits. And what I find is it's just the more often that you do something, the faster the habit's going to be. So if you give a 30-day span and you say, in this 30 days, I want to drink more water. All right. If 4 of those 30 days you drink more water, in 30 days, you didn't change your habits. But for the same client or another client who has 15 days, and 15 out of those 15 days, they change that habit, they're more likely to stick with it eventually to the 30. So it's not about time. It's just more about how much more consistently you do something and doing it more often. So for example, exercise, a lot of times we think that we have to work out 5 to 7 times a week for, 30 minutes to an hour. What if you don't have that time? You can't make that time right now. Work out 4 times a week for 20 minutes. Start there, build that habit. And then what you'll see is over time, you're going to have more time to do it.
That's great advice. And you took this approach when you started out too. Like, I think I remember you mentioning on TikTok once that you decided to build yourself a plan this way. So when someone is getting started and they're just at like the very, very baby beginning of their journey, whatever their goal is, um, what's the kind of like structure that you recommend for them to do as a small starting out point?
Set one small goal for yourself this week and get it done. Set one goal. So, if your goal is to eventually run a marathon, right? And you've never run before. All right, that's a great goal. Running a marathon is awesome. That sounds exciting. It's huge. Well, let's break it down. Let's set one small goal for this week. All right, maybe your small goal is even just going out and getting a pair of running shoes, getting you pumped up about wanting to go for that run. Maybe it's going for a 20-minute walk, but do one thing this week to help you get to that goal. And then next week, do that and something else. And then keep adding to it progressively so that it's not overwhelming. I think as a society too, something at least that I've struggled with is come Sunday night, I realized that, this weekend I had a lot of fun and I need to get back on track. And I'm upset with myself about, what I ate and drank and that I didn't work out. And we come to this Monday morning and we say, okay, today I'm going to drink a gallon of water. I'm going to exercise for 45 minutes every single day, 7 days a week. We changed too much at once. And then come Wednesday, how much of that did we actually do?
Hmm.
So then it comes down to setting that one goal, allowing ourselves to crush that one goal, make it a habit, and then continue on with setting more.
And that's how we get over that weekend shame. I'm definitely in that. It's summer now, we're all vaccinated. I'm like, oh, I went out and had some wine this weekend and now it's Monday and I regret those decisions, although not really. But yeah, it's finding that balance of okay, like not beating yourself up and then trying to go way too hard on a Monday morning. And then, as you said, by Wednesday, you're exhausted, you've dropped off. You're like, why did I try to do too many things at once? And we don't need to do that anymore.
No. And then the cycle happens over and over again. And it's a constant cycle of us beating ourselves up for enjoying life. And that's really what it comes down to. And you know what? If you have the decision on a weekend, if you decide that you want to drink a glass of wine, own that decision. Yes, I'm enjoying this glass of wine right now because during the week, during the other days, I'm great about my goals. I'm sticking to my water consumption. I'm doing this and I'm allowing myself to have a glass of wine and almost taking the pressure off of, can I have it or can I not have it? Is it healthy? Is it not healthy? Just have it and enjoy it. and then move on the next day and don't put so much pressure on yourself.
Yeah, because there's just nothing worse than going to, like, I went to a family friend's like outdoor cookout this weekend,
Mhm.
and with those things, it's just a huge buffet, or there's burgers and pasta salad and whatever, and there's nothing worse than walking up to a spread of food, knowing that you need to eat, you're hungry, and
Mhm.
looking at it and feeling guilt over something you're going to pick out or not picking it out because you know you're going to feel guilt. It's just a
Mhm.
terrible feeling. And I think that's that balance of knowing that we can do those things and, like, focus on just enjoying it, or like balancing out, if there's a salad around, like put some salad on your plate too, get some greens
Mhm.
in or something like that, but also
Yeah.
have the burger,
Yeah.
and know that that's what you wanted to do on that day, and that's okay if you're balanced and sticking to all those little goals on the other days.
Mhm.
I think that's
Yeah.
really important.
I spoke with a nutritionist probably 2 or 3 years ago. I was having a hard time with, I was learning so much about food and learning the importance of macronutrients and, getting enough protein and all of these things that I was almost becoming probably a little bit too, I guess, not obsessed, but too aware of what I was putting in my body. And I was putting restriction rules on myself and saying, oh, I can't have this because it has X amount of carbs and this many fats. And it's so weird once you do start learning about it, how it changes the way that you see it. And one of the best pieces of advice that she told me, because I had that same experience, I would go into an event and I would focus solely on the food, and I'd focus fully on what can I eat and what can't I eat. And, I'm hopefully a fitness professional. What are people going to judge me for eating? What are they not going to judge me for eating? And, all of these thoughts and things went through my mind. And the nutritionist told me, Rylee, take a step back. Why are you really at that party? And I said, oh, because my friends and family are here. And she said, all right, let's try to reframe that and let's make that the focus. Let's make your friends and family the focus. And I said, huh? What do you mean make them the focus? I think that's what I do. She says, Rylee, the reason that you're going to these parties and you're stressing out so much is because you're only focused on the food. Go talk to people, go hang out, go, get a glass of water in your hand and enjoy yourself and learn about people and talk to people about their stories and have a plate of food. And so it sounds so simple, it sounds ridiculous, but it's something that worked for me. And I got a plate of food and I went and talked to people and it took that pressure off the food. And I really don't know if that makes sense. I feel like saying it out loud now. I'm sure she worded it much better than I am, but it was that little change talk was incredible for me. And I think it really reframed the way that I saw events and weekends and hanging out with people.
No, that makes total sense to me, and it's definitely something I think that's easier said than done. Like, it really does take a little bit of a mindset shift, like a conscious one, to walk into something like that and say, okay, what am I here for? How can I not let these things stress me out?
Yes.
But it makes total sense. It's just
Yeah.
you do have to you do
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
focus on
it
it.
did take time. I'm not saying I went into my next party and was like, oh, food doesn't matter. All right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go talk to everyone. But it took the pressure off it and allowed me to think about changing the way that I spoke to myself. So it took maybe a year or two, but I eventually got to the point where, I felt comfortable of just going and grabbing a cupcake or maybe my third one because they were really good and just enjoying it.
Yeah. And you've mentioned this term a couple times, change talk. Tell me
Mhm.
more about that. I don't think I've heard that before.
Okay. It is changing the way that you speak to yourself, changing the way you speak about other people. I did this when I was having a hard time with having confidence, as a high schooler, quitting the volleyball team, figuring out her ways, figuring out what the heck I'm doing with my life. I lacked a lot of confidence, and even a little bit in college, being compared to other people and things. And I struggled with it. One of the coolest tactics that I learned on how to change the way that we talk to ourselves or change the way that we talk about things, I'll give a few examples. One of them is if I ever have a negative thought about myself, oh, I don't look good today, or my outfit is gross, or my hair isn't working today, my makeup won't stay on my face. I then replace that one bad thought with three good thoughts. And I say, all right, my personality is on point today. I got enough sleep, or, I love my outfit, or just three positive things. It doesn't have to be about how you look, but it could be about how you feel. Another thing that I work with my clients specifically on is changing the way that you shape exercise. It's not, I have to go work out. You don't have to do anything. You could sit at home all day and do nothing if you really want to. No one's telling you what to do, but you want to go work out. You get to go work out. there's so many people out there who unfortunately don't have the ability to go and move their body and go for a run and go for a walk. You know, they might be in a wheelchair, they might have lost a limb, maybe they have a broken leg, whatever it is, but they don't get to, but you get to right now. So enjoy it. So anytime that I even catch myself saying I have to go do a workout, I simply change it right away and I say I get to go work out. Something like that nature of, that's what I like to give examples for change talk.
Those are great. And I think those things are so important. Like I talk to people on the show a lot about confidence and building confidence and how people found it or when they get there. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we put so much expectation as a society on like we will get confidence once we lose the weight or fit into those shorts again or whatever. But you have to live in your body now and go about your day to day now. And so there are things that you can do to regain that sense of confidence and self worth while you're trying to get to these goals, which will ultimately like help build on it. But it's so important to do that work now because otherwise you're just unhappy.
Mm-hmm. And what they've found in studies too, and I'm sure other trainers or coaches have talked about before, is, you know, it's not necessarily the weight that's going to give you the confidence, you know, make you feel a little bit better, but there's more work that needs to be done there. So diving a little bit deeper and finding really what it is that you're looking for on top of the weight loss, you know, because that could be important to you or other people, but, you know, building the confidence, like you said, now and focusing on the now, what can you change in this moment? Because unfortunately we can't just burn off the fat. I guess you get like liposuction anyways, but you know what I mean.
Definitely not promoting that on this.
Yeah, no.
Oh my gosh. You just said something too earlier about something I loved, which was a small goal as an example for someone getting started is to like go buy a new pair of running shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminded me of a coach I talked to last season where she mentioned that she really focuses on treating herself with like non-wellness related rewards when she hits some milestone. So she's like, I go get a manicure or something like that. That has nothing to do with like food or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is that something that you practice as well or try to teach your clients at all? Like, I just think it's great.
Yeah, I try not to do food as reward. And I think, you know, I've talked about this. If I ever have children one day, that's something that I also don't want to teach them. And because it puts this idea of like, oh, I did something great today, I'm going to, you know, have a cupcake. And not that you can't have a cupcake ever, you know, like I'm not saying that, but, you know, let's change the way. Let's say, oh, I did something great today. I'm going to go celebrate with a walk, or I'm going to go and play volleyball, or, you know, get a new jacket or something. But I think, you know, the food reward process, and, you know, I have to do more research on it. They're finding more and more that it's just, it's creating unhealthy patterns with diet. And, you know, I'm not a registered dietitian. I can't necessarily touch on it too much, but those unhealthy patterns and habits are what's causing, I think, more and more maybe eating disorders and just types of issues with that. So definitely trying to use other resources as a reward than just food.
Mm. Yeah, that makes total sense to me. I definitely personally used to fall into the trap of rewarding myself with food and trying to break out of that too. And as someone who's also not an expert in it, could totally just identify the like mental side effects of that in myself. So you saying that, I'm like, yep, that lines up. Well, Rylee, so you're now training for an Ironman, yes?
Yes, I am.
Crazy. Okay, so and you've done marathons as well.
I did one marathon before.
Okay.
So starting during quarantine, all of the gyms were closed. I was a cyclist in college. I did the Indiana University Little 500, go Hoosiers, and our race was unfortunately canceled because of COVID. Came home, all the gyms were closed. I didn't have a bike. I had no clue what I should be doing at the moment to keep, you know, honestly, just my mental health up. When I work out, it helps me stay relaxed. It just improves my overall quality of life. And I said, all right, well, I've always wanted to enjoy running. I've always wanted to try it. It always looks fun to people who enjoy it. But it was something that I dreaded. But I said, you know, I want to get better at it. Let's try it. Started getting into running. I did my own little mini half marathon. I did my own marathon during it. And then I said, what else can I do to push myself to the next level? I was really bored during quarantine. And I said, all right, well, I've always wanted to train for an Ironman. why don't I train for a half Ironman and see how it goes? You know, I didn't know how to swim, didn't know how to do anything really regarding triathlons. And I had a coach reach out and he said, Rylee, I'll train you for a full Ironman and we'll get it done in 6 months. And I documented this whole experience on TikTok, and I was shocked with myself. Unfortunately, my official Ironman race in April was canceled. It was supposed to be in Texas. We pivoted. I did my own little race in my hometown. So I've never officially done a real triathlon. I've only done, you know, RyleeJ.fit triathlons. I've won all of them. It's been incredible.
First place for you.
First place, one participant, 1 out of 1. It was great. And then my first official Ironman will be October 2nd in Muncie, Indiana. So I'm really excited to try that out.
Awesome. And so Ironman it's a triathlon, right? So it's running, swimming, and cycling.
A 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and a 26.2 mile run.
Wow.
Yes. So the
And
first
how
time
many hours?
First time I did it, it took 13 and a half hours. My goal would be to get under 13 hours for this next one. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. And so, but I want to preface this with, you know, this big event, this big endurance event that I'm taking on started with me setting small goals. And I would like to point out that I'm pretty sure that this adventure alone started with me giving up Jimmy John's for 30 days. A small discipline task has now led to me doing an Ironman. And I just think that that's so cool how little goals, small things that you do on a day-to-day basis can now lead up to something like this.
It's so amazing to me that you started out as somebody who was struggling to even find their way around a gym. Like you went with having a coach and then not having a coach, and you felt so lost and had no idea what to do. And now you've had enough self-discipline to train for and run your own personal marathon and compete in your own personal Ironman. I mean, that is just like a testament to how all these methods really work for you, because I would never, like, I'm pretty motivated to stay active for the rest of my life, but like I could never just throw myself through an Ironman in my hometown like alone. Did you have people like come cheer you on or anything?
I did. And yeah, let me say I wasn't completely alone. My friends and family all came specifically for each leg of the race. My cousin, she sat with me in the pool while I swam. I had my bike coach from IU, Dave, and then a gentleman that we met on TikTok, also named Dave. They both came out for the bike portion, did like the 112 mile bike with me. And then my boyfriend Chase ran the entire marathon with me. So I was never officially alone during the event. And so I was so grateful to have such a big support system and people cheering me on. I had a little tent set up with my family, and every time I'd go by it, they would, you know, scream and yell and say, keep going. And I would just try to give a thumbs up because I was dying, but it was fun.
That's so cool. That just sounds really fun.
Yeah, it was an experience unlike anyone that, you know, I've ever had before. And I'm excited now for this real Ironman to just be around people who are going through the same thing as you as well, and just feed off of their energy. And I think, you know, racing in general, it's so exciting once you're like at that race start and you're about to go, just whether I've been at a 5K or the little 500 race or whatever it's been, you know, being around people who are like-minded and all work towards the same thing, there's no other feeling like it. So anyone who's listening to, if you thought about doing a 5K, thought about doing a 10K, maybe a marathon, maybe a full marathon, maybe an Ironman, sign up and you can do it. Because if I can do it, I'm little Rylee from Indiana, you know, nothing special over here, but if I can do it, you can too.
Yeah, and I would echo that. I've only ever done a 5K. Definitely not a pro road racer over here, but same thing you said. I had trained for it, like had to build up my running endurance. It's not the longest distance in the world, but I was like pretty lapsed in my fitness at the time. And the energy, yeah, it's really fun. I specifically did the Pride run in New York at the time. So everyone's like wearing rainbow and tutus, and it just like the energy was unreal. And I still don't even know what my time was to this day. I didn't care. I just had fun.
Didn't matter. No.
Yeah.
No, you enjoyed it. You're with people who all loved to run, or at least wanted to like it for a little bit. And it was good.
Yeah. We all wanted to like it so we could go to brunch after and say that we did it.
Get the little medal.
The little medal.
Go to brunch. Yep.
Yeah.
But that you work towards that, and I think that's so cool. And you think back to your win bank of all of the things you've been able to accomplish, and you say, yeah, I did a 5K. Look, I got a medal from it, and I worked for it, and I had to get out and run and get running shoes and, get a new playlist and do the whole thing. And it was awesome. And that's a part of the process. And I think understanding, you've done that before, then pushes you then to the next level of knowing that you can do that again or something more difficult because you have those tools in your toolbox.
So if you could look back to the very, very beginning of your journey, little Rylee in high school, and say one thing to yourself, what do you think it would be?
Oh, say one thing. Don't be so hard on yourself. Me doing IronMan and doing all these crazy adventures and things, it's going to work out how it's supposed to go work out, but don't be so hard on yourself. Don't put pressure on yourself for it to be perfect. I think, I have a very type A personality. I like to, have things organized and have things done well. And I think something that I learned from COVID especially is things aren't always going to go as planned. I had a job lined up after college. It was my dream job and I was so excited, and it all didn't happen, but I'm still thriving and I'm doing now what I love even more. And I've found my passion in that. So don't put so much pressure on yourself to have it all figured out right now, but what can you do in this moment to get you one step closer to where you want to be? So I think very too much far into the future, but I got to focus on the now, Rylee. So even directing it towards fitness and wellness is, yes, you want to lose 20 pounds. That's amazing. Well, what can you do today to help support that goal? Maybe that is going for a walk. Maybe it's adding more vegetables to your plate, drinking a little bit more water, but focusing on the now rather than the future.
It's amazing advice.
Thank you.
Well, Rylee, this has been so fun. I have a quick little rapid round for you. It may sound a little familiar based on our conversation earlier, and then you are free to go.
Awesome.
So the first question is, what is one myth about health that you used to believe was true? I think we'll know the answer.
Yep. That was I thought lifting weights would make me big. And I really did. And it was unfortunate that I didn't learn it sooner, because I would have done a lot more strength training maybe in high school. But once I did learn it, I was excited and I got into some more strength training and realized that it doesn't make you big, but it makes you feel so powerful. It makes you feel so strong and like you can do anything. And one time, like the first time that I deadlifted 205 pounds, 205 pounds, I felt like I was on top of the world. So don't be afraid to lift heavy. And if you are afraid to lift heavy, look up some of the research about strength training and learn more about it on, accredited sites, not on, the little pop sugar, the, random articles that they have out there.
Yeah,
but
like
find an accredited source and research why strength training is important, because you'll be shocked to learn all of the benefits of it.
Awesome. Okay. What is your favorite workout move and why?
Okay. This one is so weird, but it's a kettlebell swing. The why is more how I learned it. I had an internship in Chicago. I was at a gym and I was trying this movement. I was struggling with it so much. And two of the trainers who had worked at the gym, I was just an intern, came by. They helped me with this movement for probably 20 minutes to make sure that I got it right. And I think that moment of just feeling so supported and feeling so like they cared so much about me at the time was awesome. Also, it's a great movement for a little bit of increasing your heart rate, also increasing your hamstring strength, your glute strength, and your hip strength. All of those are super important in the types of activities that I do. So kettlebell swings, they make you feel powerful, they make you feel strong. And that is probably one of my favorite movements.
I really like those two. They feel really fun.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
Yeah.
All that leg power.
Oh, so much power. And if you're doing them right, you can do a lot of weight with it too. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Final one for you. A little would you rather. So would you rather complete a workout without drinking water or without eating food all day?
The health coach in me is like,
Screaming.
Don't do either. I would go probably without eating food. My body is right now well trained to be able to handle longer endurance workouts without food, because that's the way I've trained it. Because of my endurance adventures, I have to teach my body that. So I would do without food. because I also sweat a ton and I feel like I'd be more likely to pass out if I did not have any water. But also the
Same.
health professional in me is saying, please eat and please drink water.
Oh, yes. This was a random game, not to insinuate that anyone should do either of those things. You should definitely eat and definitely drink a ton
Yes.
of water. Actually, I was crying laughing at your TikTok the other day where you took off your headband and like wrung out all this sweat. I'm a really sweaty exerciser as well. Like
Oh my
the
gosh.
heat, anything, I sweat like crazy.
Mhm.
Sexiest thing I've ever said. And when you did that on your TikTok, I was like, I relate to that
So
so,
much.
so much.
My head sweats, I think more. I have a lot of hair, and I think my head sweats more than anything else. And so I always have to wear a headband. Otherwise, I'll get sweat in my eyeballs the whole time.
Mm.
And every single time after I work out, I, wring it out, and I decided to take a video of it. People loved it. I will say, sweat is not an indication, and this is the premise of the video that I made, is not an indication of how hard you're working. Some of us are just really sweaty humans. Me and Kayla just happen to be really sweaty humans. I'm sweating right now during this podcast.
Me too, because I can't have my AC on when we record because of the noise.
So loud.
So it gets toasty in here when I do these. For anyone listening,
Yeah.
just know that that's what I go through in the summer. Oh, Rylee, this was so much fun. I feel just like incredibly inspired by you. Amazing advice all around. And
Thank you.
I will see you in the WayBetter app soon, I'm sure, and playing your games. And good luck with IronMan. We'll have to like tune in October and see how you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. And thank you guys, anyone who's listened in. Make sure that you check out our WayBetter challenge coming up, and make sure you follow me on social media too.